Hey guys, it's Olivia here from Olivia's Catastrophe, and today I'm here to give you my February wrap-up. In the month of February I read 22 books and I did 2 readathons and I had a lot of 5-star reads, so I am just going to go right into these books because we've got quite a few to fly through. First lot of books that I want to talk about are the books that I read for black-a-thon, and I read about half of my TBR. So the first book that I finished for black-a-thon, which was a 5-star read, was The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. This one is about Star, who is in the car when her best friend Cahill is shot dead by a policeman, and it's about police brutality, also a bit about gangs, about family, and it just follows on what happens after that event. There is also a movie out right now, and this book, guys, this book was monumental for me. It made me angry, it made me happy, it made me sad. It's just so much is handled and dismantled in this book. Themes of racism, police brutality, of identity, of friendship, complex family dynamics. This book legit has it all, and she's written it so well that I have to make a longer video where I really pick apart this book and discuss it, because any review I do here does not do this book justice. I was absolutely blown away. I buddy read this with some people on Twitter. Rachel Marie was one of them, and she was the one who was talking the most in the group, but I'll link the other booktubers also down below. Then I also read Black Panther, A Nation Under Our Feet, and this is the first comment, and it was by I can't remember, but I'll have the title, the name of the author up here. This was the first time I read a comic, so I was not sure if I was going to enjoy it, but I really enjoyed this one. It was just so nice to see beautiful illustrations of strong women and guys, and there's themes about, you know, being a king, what it takes to be a leader, what it takes to be a good person, fighting against people or fighting against a regime that's set up. And at the beginning I was a bit lost because, you know, Black Panther as a comic is a long series, and I was just diving in the middle of one. Like, it's the beginning of a story, but it's also the middle of the Black Panther stories. But I managed to get my head on things quite quickly. This was volume 1, and I'm looking forward to reading more. Then I listened to the spoken word poetry, and I'll link my favourite one down below. I was watching it on a Saturday morning while eating my breakfast, and I was legit crying so hard because there's a mention of a grandfather dying, and even though my grandfather's died years ago now, it just hit me hard. I just lost it completely, and you know, it's been like years since my grandfather's died, but sometimes, you know, you can still miss people a lot. Yeah. Moving on, I hosted my own readathon, which is called Cat Readathon, and it was to deal with the catastrophe of reading the oldest books on our TBRs. And honestly guys, I rated a lot of the books on my old TBR 5 stars, so clearly they've just been waiting for me to pick them up and read them. One of the first ones I read was Illuminae by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. This was a 5-star read for me. If you know me, you know that I love sci-fi and don't read this one, read it enough. So this book is about these people who live on this planet. This company come and like bomb the planet, and they all have to run onto these spaceships to escape this company that is going to be chasing them. There's like a space chase, and there's 2 main characters, Katie and Ezra, who were a couple and broke up and are kind of investigating what's going on. They kind of end up going in different directions aboard these spaceships, and they're just trying to survive. This whole thing with artificial intelligence comes in, and guys, I was here for it. I absolutely love this book. I have to say that Katie wasn't a character that I fell in love with completely, but Ezra was so funny. He stole my heart. He was just too sweet, too kind, and way too hilarious. The plot was really good, and the villain in this one makes it into my top 3 favourite villains. He was brilliant. I just cannot wait to get to the second book now. Then another book I read for Cat Readathon was Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. This is one I've had on my shelf for ages. It's about Kath, who's going to university. She has anxiety and she has a twin, and she also writes fan fiction. She's a huge writer for this fantasy series with Simon and Baz in it, and she's just going to uni and she wants to survive and she wants to make friends, but she's very anxious, and she's worried about her dad, who she's left behind at home, because that's what you do when you leave to uni. First of all, I didn't know that I needed university fiction in my life. I'm in second year and it was just so nice to finally read a book set at university. I really liked all of the characters. Levi was a sweet, sweet character, and I love that she was writing fanfic, because I do read fanfic, only Raven Cycle fanfic, but I read fanfic, okay? And yeah, the only part that I didn't like about this was all the fanfiction. Funnily enough, I wished I skipped over it because I was just not interested at all. And even though the story was really nice, I just thought it was an okay book. Like, it was good, it was the good side of okay, but it wasn't like mind-breaking or thrilling to me, but it has good mental health rep, and I liked the family dynamics, so I enjoyed this book. The last book I read this month, actually, but I'm going to tell it here, is Heartless by Marissa Meyer. Guys, I did it. I found a book about Alice in Wonderland that I like. I don't even like the original. I didn't like any retellings I've read until this one. It's a bit different from the Lunar Chronicles, but this is a villain origin story, so don't go thinking it's an Alice in Wonderland retelling. No, it's about how the Red Queen became the Red Queen, and the character development arc was just so believable. I really loved all the descriptions of baking and food, because Kath wants to open her own bakery, and that just made me so happy and hungry. I loved the Joker jest. He was just so funny and sweet. I loved Hatter, even though he was like a moody, grumpy person most of the time. I just loved all the characters. I loved the story. I loved the romance. I just thought the arc was believable. And even though you know where this book has to end up, it's quite unpredictable in how it ends up there. And I think Marissa Meyer does that so well, even in the Lunar Chronicles. Like, you never know how she's going to get to the ending, even though you know how it has to end, because fairy tale. Another 5-star read was Me Before You by Jojo Moyes. This one is about Louisa, who is unemployed all of a sudden, and she needs to find a job, and she finds a job which is looking after Will, who is a quad, which means he's in a wheelchair and he has no use of the lower half of his body and very limited use of the upper half of his body. And Louisa is quite ignorant when it comes to disabilities, but her eyes are just opened. And there's also a romance in this one. I was spoiled for the ending indirectly. Nobody told me how it ended, but they told me something about the book which spoiled it, which I won't recite to you. You can ask me in the comments if you want to know what that is. But I was indirectly spoiled, but this one hit close to the bone for me, especially because my younger sister is in a wheelchair. She has to use the wheelchair all the time, and just seeing some of the struggles that they have to go through, I was like, finally someone's talking about it. So I'm going to have a longer discussion review of this one, because again, it's another one I feel like I really need to pick apart, but it's very close to my heart and I really loved it. Then I also finally read Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. This one is set in this like futuristic kind of dystopian world where books are banned. They burn all books that they find. But this guy is kind of thinking if they are doing the right thing. If you like 1984 or Brave New World, I would recommend this book to you, and another 5-star read for me. I absolutely loved it. Ray Bradbury's writing style is so beautiful, and even from the first page, it's already got you thinking about concepts, thinking about the way you view life, thinking about the way you do things, and the story just develops so well. I love the main character, even though he was quite fiery himself. He was quite, you know, not angry, but he just had this fire within him, if that makes sense. And the metaphors were done beautifully well. I was so satisfied with the story, how it ended, how it went through. Basically, I loved this book. So now we've got the books that I read in the readathons to the side. I'm going to talk about books that I just picked up randomly. The first one is What If It's Us by Becky Albertalli and Adam Silvera. I buddy read this with the Bookworm Diaries from Instagram, and I'll leave a link to her Insta below. This one is about Ben and Arthur, who are two characters who kind of have a meet cute in a post office, but they never get each other's numbers and then they separate, and it's about how they try to find each other again and what happens from there on out. It was okay. I was expecting more because I love Adam Silvera and I quite like Becky Albertalli, but I felt like their writing styles did not match, and I could tell who wrote which character, and I just wanted the book to be from the perspective of Adam Silvera's character. I don't know, I found Arthur to be quite creepy and quite annoying. I'm sorry guys. But it had really good representation, LGBT representation, of course. I loved the friendships and the discussions around friendships and couples and how that mixes things up. and, you know, long distance versus short distance relationships. It was quite cute. The ending was absolutely the best thing about this book, and maybe Dylan as a character was one of the best things about this book. And I also really appreciated seeing religion and LGBT getting along together, because that's very rare in books. So it was alright, but it wasn't the best. I buddy read Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman, and I've got a review for this one, so I'll link that up there and down below. It was amazing. Another 5-star read for me. So this one is about Eleanor Oliphant, who does everything the same every day. She wears the same clothes, goes to a job, does the same crossword, comes home, and on the weekend she buys the same 2 bottles of vodka to drink at home. So you can tell she's an alcoholic. And it really just, so much happens, and her character, it's a very character-driven read. Her character really just grows a lot, develops a lot, and I loved Raymond as a second character. He was the sweetest. The author's writing style is beautiful, but she, I don't know, Gail is kind of a unisex name, but Gail basically plays us as a reader. She knows how to make us feel what they want us to feel, think what they want us to think, and they are just masters of the word. So this was such a good book, and you should definitely check out my review to hear more about it. So good. This reading month was so good. Oh, and I buddy read this with a bunch of people, but I can't remember all of their names. I'll leave links down below. I also buddy read Murder on the Orient Express by Agatha Christie with a lot of people. I'll leave links down below. And this one was me continuing my trend of reading more Agatha Christie. It's a murder mystery that happens on the train, Orient Express, when the train is stuck in snow and nobody can go anywhere. It was really, really good. The mystery, again, unpredictable outcome. I'm surprised even the detective managed to solve it in the end. And also the ending is quite controversial, and it's very interesting. I would love to discuss with more people to see if they would have done what the characters do at the end of the book. Look at me not giving spoilers. And yeah, I thought it was really good. I love Poirot as a detective, and the crime is actually based on a true crime that actually happened, which totally broke my heart. Lastly, I just wanted to mention that I didn't really like how this one was formatted. The other 2 that I read are actually stories, like fictional, but this one it was like, here's the evidence, here's the interviews, here's the solution. And it was kind of disconnected the way that she did that to make it very specific in, you know, evidence, interviews, outcome. And I wish she hadn't done that, because it would have read nicer as a story. I read The Familiars by Stacey Halls, which is a historical fiction to do with the witch hunt trials set in England. I've got a review for this one, and this video is turning out quite long, so I'll just tell you to link up down there and down below to check it out. But very short, I did really enjoy this book. There was a good friendship at the beginning, like centered in the story. I thought the main character was just someone who stole my heart, and this one is quite feminist as well, even though it's historical fiction. And I loved reading about the familiars, and the nature descriptions are just beautiful. Then I listened to, but I've also got the book, Traveller's Transformation by Gregory V. Deal. This was a review copy sent to me to review on my blog, so I've got a blog review up and a giveaway, so don't know if that's still active actually, but link down below. But yes, this one is a non-fiction read about Gregory V. Deal, who just travels around the world, and he's talking a bit about the theory behind travel, a little bit about his experiences, and just giving information about how travel and change kind of transforms you as a person and your mind. I really did enjoy this one. I had one problem with it, but you'll have to read my review to know about that. I'm probably going to review it on this channel soon. And yeah, it was a really good one, and I love seeing a bit more about the theory and the concepts behind travel and change. Hi, I'm Olivia and I'm a Christian, so I read Psalms Poetry on Fire, which is the Psalms retold as poetry, and this was one of the worst reads of the month. I've actually been reading this one for quite a while. I read it alongside Psalms, and my main problem with this is that Psalms kind of reads as poetry in and of itself, so you don't need a modern day poetry translation. Psalms is pretty clear cut. This book is kind of useless. However, it does come with a devotional, and that devotional, which makes you think about the Psalms and write, like, it's got some writing prompts to make you think more. Those were really good, so I recommend the devotional that comes with this, but I can't really recommend this because it just seems redundant and unnecessary. Then I listened to Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix by J.K. Rowling, and this was by far the worst read this month. I was utterly bored when reading this book. Stephen Fry does a great job of narrating it. I'm not going to summarise it because you probably know more about the book than I did, even though I just listened to it, but it's just like, imagine this book was told from the perspective of Hagrid, of Dumbledore, of anybody who's actually in the know all the time and in the action all the time, instead of it being about these kids that are suffering under a terrible headmistress. I mean, yes, suffering under a terrible headmistress is really bad, and Harry does have some moments, but when he has some moments where he's in the know, his thing that he has to do to solve it is to go and tell someone who is more authoritative than him to go and deal with it. So basically, if another perspective was chosen for this book, like, I understand why it has to be Harry Potter because that's the series, but I would much rather have read this book if it was told from Dumbledore, Hagrid, Snape, even just anybody else's perspective, and I just found it to be utterly boring. The ending was quite good, and I've found out that I love Molly Weasley. She's basically the only character I like so far, but basically this series is so boring, guys. I'm sorry. I also listened to The Other America by Dr. Martin Luther King because of it's Black History Month on Audible. It was free then, I'm not sure if it still is, but it's just 20 minutes long and it was really good speech. The sad thing about that speech is that it's still so relevant today. Almost everything he said about racism, about discrimination, about classism is still really relevant, and isn't that just disappointing? I also listened to Lucky Suit by Lauren Blakely, which is a romance, which is very, very short. It's a novella, and it's just about this girl who tries online dating and she ends up with more options than she thought. It was a sweet read. It was a very quick read. It wasn't amazing. It was just okay, you know? It was just nice. And then I also read Miss Marvel No Normal Volume 1 by G. Wilson. I read this one because I enjoyed the Black Panther comic, and this is free on Prime Reading, so I thought, let me just try it, and I didn't really like it that much. Again, it was alright. It was not bad, but it wasn't good. I thought I was going to love it because there was a lot of hype when this one came out, as it's a superhero book with a Muslim main character, so props for the rep there. But it just wasn't amazing. The artwork was not my kind of artwork and I didn't like it at all, and the story was just not thrilling or amazing. It was just like an okay plot wise. The only thing I can say that's really good about this one was the rep, and that it was a decent story. And last but not least, I'm going to talk about my 5 uni reads. So first of all, I'm going to talk about the Shakespeare plays because I read Macbeth by Shakespeare and I was a bit underwhelmed, guys. You know, everybody loves this one, so I thought it was going to be amazing, but it was just okay. It was really short and I expected there to be more to it. Lady Macbeth, yes, she was a cool character. Yes, the witches were really cool, you know, tall and trouble, like cauldron bubble. I was here for that. But the storyline itself was just a bit disappointing. The other tragedies that Shakespeare's written are much better. It just didn't last very long and it just wasn't as amazing as I thought it was going to be. However, I did then go and read Coriolanus by Shakespeare for my uni course and I absolutely loved that play. It's a very politically charged play and I feel like it's still so relevant today. It's about how political loyalties and betrayals happen so quickly, and the people and what the people want when they're giving a voice just shifts. How easy it is to manipulate the people, how easy it is to make a martyr of someone, to make someone look like an enemy. And also I actually felt most of Shakespeare's tragedies, when something happens, I'm like, okay, the main hero kind of deserved that, or it makes sense that they got there. But for this one, I felt nothing but sympathy and pity for Coriolanus. Maybe he was not the smartest cookie in the jar, but Coriolanus, okay? So I really liked this one and I thought it was a very good play. And now down to the last 3 books. This is a really long video. Okay, so I read Strong Poison by Dorothy L. Sawyers for crime fiction, and this is a murder mystery where this woman is on trial and she is not the person who's committed the crime. Lord Peter Wimsey actually believes that she's not the one who's done the crime, so what he needs to do is, by the time the court is going to give her another trial, he needs to find out who has actually committed the crime. It was a decent book, you know, the writing style was really nice. It's not too complex English for a classic, and it was really light-hearted, like the style was light-hearted, if that makes sense. I liked Peter Wimsey as a character, I liked Harriet Vane as a character, I liked all their discussions. I didn't figure out who did the murder mystery or how it was done, but it was quite straightforward, you know, trying to, like, it had a linear thing. There weren't too many dead ends that they had to face or anything. It was just a decent read. It wasn't amazing, wasn't terrible. And then I had to read Gordy Night by Dorothy L. Sawyers again. This one was a big book. It's about 550-ish pages. I thought it was a murder mystery. No murder happens in this book. In fact, the crime that they are trying to solve is vandalism. And I mean, okay, you can have a mystery without a murder in it, but vandalism, it wasn't high enough stakes for me. And yes, later on there is an attempted murder, not a murder, attempted murder, but that happens 300 pages in. 300. It was so boring and so slow paced. Like, even though I like Harriet and Lord Peter Wimsey as characters, and even though I like the writer's style, this one seriously dragged. Nothing happened for ages, and I feel like not much happened from the end of the book to the beginning. It was just too boring. Then I read, okay, so this is a bind-up edition, but I read Surfeit of the Lampreys by Nio Marsh. She's a New Zealand writer and New Zealander. And this one is murder mystery. It's set in England. It's in this house with this huge family. There's about 7 of them, and they are so funny. There's twins. They're very rich, but they're kind of clueless rich, and there's also, you know, aunts and uncles who are there that day, and the servants, so there's a huge array of characters. Be prepared for lots of characters. But yes, a murder mystery happens and Inspector Allen comes in to solve it. I really enjoyed this one. I just thought the family dynamic was brilliant. I love when you read about, you know, rich people drama, but then at the same time they believe they're poor. They're kind of ignorant, but they're kind of charming, ignorant. And the murder, I didn't figure out who did it. I didn't figure out how. It was kind of wonderfully complex and a little bit of witchcraft, like, smattered in there. Oh my gosh, that was my last read. Okay, so those are all the books that I read in February. Please let me know in the comment section down below if you've read any of these books and what was your favourite read in the month of February. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Hit the subscribe button if you want to see more, and don't forget to hit that notification bell if you would like to see more. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.